Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got an awesome show lined up for you today, and we are on location at the National Wildlife Habitat Education Program that's being held at the Clyde York 4-H Center.
Yes, the
in
Clyde
Crossville.
M. York 4-H Center. Yeah, it's a great facility. I've spent time here in the past at the helping out with the Becoming an Outdoors Woman program that's had a lot of events here, and it's very comfortable. And I know the students have had a great week, and
it's an outstanding facility, and we have had lots of programs here over the years.
Yeah, it's a great place. A lot of activities for the kids while they're here, and it's a great venue for a lot of different things, and 4-H, obviously. We're here for the National Wildlife Habitat Education Program competition and program. So that's what we're going to talk about today and learn more about that. But Don, do you want to kick us off with a radio station first?
Yeah, just down the road. We're in Crossville here at the 4-H Center, but just down the road at Cookeville, WUCT News Talk 94.1. We're on Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. Outdoorsman's Drive Time. So, right there in Cookeville. So they're part of the Stonecom network of radio stations, and we appreciate them keeping us on the air, and our other radio partners around the state. About 35 up. We're up to about 35 now. So.
Awesome. Yeah. And we appreciate you guys out there watching and listening on YouTube, however you ingest the show.
Yeah, right.
Or digest the show. I don't know, whatever. But following us out there on your favorite podcasting platform, we just appreciate y'all tuning in. And today's going to be a fun program. And we have two exciting guests with us today. We have Mr. Jim Byford, Dr. Jim Byford, and Dr. Craig Harper. And we appreciate you guys being here today. The knowledge in the room is amazing.
Exactly. Yep.
And the history here, just a few tidbits here. Mr. Byford, former professor at UTK, extension wildlife specialist. He was the dean of ag at UT Martin, in applied sciences. So he's got a great resume.
Right.
And mentor to thousands.
Exactly. Yeah.
and the originator of what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's very cool. And then Dr. Harper is University Tennessee professor and now the wildlife specialist, right? So
the baton has been passed.
Yeah, it's been passed, and we got some great guests with us today, and I'm excited to dive in. But first of all, let's just learn about a little bit about you, Dr. Byford, and kind of how this program. What led you to start this program? Yeah.
Well, I came back to Tennessee. I grew up in Tennessee. I came back in 1972. It was a cooperative agreement between what was then Tennessee Department of Game and Fish, now TWRA, and Extension. There was a move to try to get more quail and rabbits in Tennessee, and the agency, knowing that the habitat was on private land, and I was an extension wildlife specialist in Georgia at the time, so I came back in Tennessee to get this program started. And so I'd been in Georgia 3 years, and I'd done adult programs, but I'd learned that youth was a way to get to adults.
Okay.
It's kind of undercover. You get to a kid, you get to their parents, and parents own the land. So I started the 4-H wildlife program, and at the time, we had a 4-H wildlife conference. We had a food plot contest. This was what we used, and we had a county program where kids got involved in their county. So it was going really good. We had a lot of interest. And I was the first wildlife specialist in Tennessee. And so agents, I taught them, about wildlife, and they really jumped on this. They love to plant stuff. And so the way it worked is TWRA furnished a bag of seed to a kid that would apply. The kid put out the bag of seed and into a food plot. And then they were judged, and the best food plots won, and so on. So that was in 1972, and about 1977, I began to be really concerned because all people were talking about was to get wildlife, you just put in a food plot. And of course, Craig is probably one of the best habitat people.
Sure.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Professionals in the country.
No doubt.
And as Craig knows, the wildlife habitat management involves all kinds of aspects. So I wanted to teach that. Well, how was I going to teach that? Well, I got looking at soils contests, judging contests, livestock judging contests, and I noticed that young people would study in depth those subjects in order to compete. And I said, okay, if I can bring that thought into 4-H, then we can teach them how to manage wildlife better.
Yeah.
So I started this contest in '77. I wrote this bulletin, 4-H Wildlife Judging Contest Manual. And it's interesting that year in Extension, in the University of Tennessee Institute of Ag, it was outstanding publication, got a $1,000 award.
Nice.
So
It went a little farther
Then-
then. That
It sure did, yeah.
that's right. And so now y'all get $10,000.
You're right. You're right.
But anyway, it became pretty popular. I did in-service training with agents, and then I revised it. Agents really helped me here because just like specialists have built this program all over the country, their input has made it what it is today. Agents made the judging contest in Tennessee better because they said, Byford, you need to do this or that differently. So I revised it in '79. Revised it again in '81, and so it was doing really well. In 5 years, it became more heavily enrolled than even soils or livestock, which has been going on for decades.
Wow. Yeah.
So in 1982, I got a $300 grant from the National Hikers and Campers Association. Put slide tape. Back then, that was the medium.
A slideshow, yeah, exactly.
Slide tape show.
Oh, it's slide tape show.
No PowerPoints.
And that's right. And so
you would cue the audio tape up to the
That's right.
to the visuals, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Conrad Reinhardt helped me do that. He was in publications at UT. So put that together, teach kids, teach agents. And in 1983, I got a grant from the Fish and Wildlife Service for nearly $7,000 to put together a regional training workshop for 4-H specialists and wildlife specialists in the southern region. So we had it right here at Crossville, and we had 25 specialists there, and they were from 12 states. Midweek, we had the kids actually compete here for this district to teach them how it worked, show them how it worked. So they liked it. They said, we need to do this. And so we went to the Southern directors, and they approved it. And while they were here, they had their input. They took the Tennessee rules and contests, tweaked them for the regional, and they developed an outline for the contest. So we had that contest for the southern region in August of 1987. And so we had 17 4-H'ers from 5 states. I noticed this year you've got 11 4-H teams and 5 FFA teams, which is wonderful. FFA wasn't involved early. So we got another grant from Fish and Wildlife Service to put this on. And so by that time, though, this is 1987, we had 17 states that indicated an interest in putting together a state contest. And 7 of those states, or 8 here, 7, were not from the southern region. They'd heard and began to adapt and were interested. And they developed. I got some of the early literature.
Yeah, I think it's cool that it went to that national level. That nationally, it was reaching those other states. They wanted to be a part.
They know a good thing when they see it.
Yeah. So this was August 1987. October 87, I became dean at UT Martin, and a friend of mine called me and he said, "Byford, are you still in control of this contest?" I said, "No, I'm dean at UT Martin. I can't do that." He said, "Well, blankety blank, turn it over to somebody." And I said, "That's a good idea."
Yeah.
He said, "Be formal about it. Let people know that somebody else is in charge." And I said, "You got somebody in mind, don't you?" He said, "Yeah, Ed Jones of Mississippi State. He'll do it. He's interested in it." I called Ed Jones. He was interested. So in 1988, Ed became the Southern Regional Leader. 1988 had the second regional contest. 1989, the first national contest. And in 1990, the final draft of the WEP manual. By then, specialists from all these states had their input. It was getting to be something really special.
Yeah.
And so that is how we got to that early part. So I'll leave the rest up to my colleague here.
Well, I think it's awesome that this program came out of Tennessee. I mean, no better place. Tennessee is so biodiverse across from
Absolutely
Mountain City to Memphis. What
Absolutely
this state offers, and no better place for this program to originate right here in Tennessee. So then, once it went national. It just exploded. I mean, I'm looking at the list here of all the different schools that we have here today. And by the way, this program it rotates state to state each year, right? So we haven't hosted. It's been 20 years since we've hosted, I think, or 25 years.
For many years, the number of states participating would be somewhere around 18 to 23.
Okay.
And it didn't necessarily rotate on a regular schedule, but, as people were able and willing to host the national contest, it went all over. And so I don't think it's ever been in one state 2 years in a row. I could be wrong, look back at the records, but it moves all around the country.
Okay, yeah. So I just think that's really cool. And today, or this week, we've had, Texas, South Carolina, Indiana, Arkansas. Is that Utah, I guess?
Utah.
North Carolina, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. So a lot of... New York, yeah. A lot of different states here, and that's cool. They're out here in Crossville, Tennessee, competing. But so, Dr. Harper, when you came in, you took over as the wildlife specialist, but you're driving the manual now. I noticed your name is the editor there inside the manual. And what's it evolved to now? What's it like now as it's?
Well, I need to fill a little gap here. I came on in May of 1998.
Okay.
And so there's about a 10-year gap there where Dr. Tom Hill and Dr. Mike King, who became extension wildlife specialists at the University of Tennessee, both of them carried the mantle, if you will, during that time and helped maintain and grow the contest. But I do remember in my first week that I was at the University of Tennessee, and Tom Hill was my official faculty member, coming in fresh. He had this stack of all kinds of stuff, files and whatnot, yay high, and he come in. I remember he literally dropped it on my desk, boom, and he said, "Buddy, this is your baby now." So there's all kinds of stuff in here.
No warning.
And, I remember thinking, it looks like Jim Byford and Tom Hill have set me up here with all kinds of stuff to do, So, it went from there. And I guess the one thing I would say is that at that point, and we called it wildlife judging.
Okay, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what Jim came up with, early on. And so we had our Tennessee wildlife judging program. And at the national level, it was called WHEP,
Okay.
Wildlife Habitat Evaluation Program at that time.
Perfect, yeah.
And of course, at the national level, they were using the national manual.
Sure.
And we were still using our Tennessee Wildlife Judging Manual. And things had changed. I mean, we continued to do research and science guides our management recommendations, what we do, animal populations change, habitat for those species changes, with urbanization and landscape change, et cetera. And so there's lots of change continually in wildlife management. And we were still using a manual that did not have all of the components, activities, and information that this newer manual did. And so I realized we need to catch up a little bit with what's going on nationally. And Tom and I worked very hard at adjusting and revising the Tennessee manual, and we used that revised manual for a couple of years before, I think it was in 2001, that we went fully over to just using what was then the national manual. And we hosted the national contest in 2000, and we conducted the contest at Cades Cove, and lots of partnerships make this available. And let me also say, something that needs to be said is none of this would have been possible without the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. They have funded and supported this, not just with funding, but with people every step of the way that's needed ever since 1977, 78, and continuing today. Trust me, this contest would not be going on today if it wasn't for TWRA stepping up with some funding, significant funding to help with all this, because there's a lot that goes into this.
I've seen several wildlife officers here today, helping and whatnot.
I think there's at least 12 officers, biologists, and others who have helped. Even they came out and provided food, whole hog barbecue and potatoes over cast iron pans and just all kinds of stuff. So that's what takes it over the top. And
exactly.
The kids and the other people involved, the adult leaders and the other specialists that are here, they're like, wow, this is really good. Well, we got good partnerships.
Exactly.
And that's what it takes. And so they have helped with everything. And we transitioned to the national manual in 2001, and we were, and let me back up and say, Tennessee won a lot of contests when in those early years, but when the national manual changed so much, we had begun to fall back a little bit. And I remember it was in 1999 that I'm getting used to things and trying to do my job and keep up with everything, and I was at a Wildlife Society conference, and I can't remember where it was, but one of the extension wildlife specialists from another state, he came up to me and he said, how's it going in Tennessee? And I said, oh, it's great, everything's real good. And we was talking about that, and he said, what about WHEP? I said, yeah, we're still conducting the wildlife judge. And he said, but what about how y'all are doing? He said, I've noticed the Tennessee teams have fallen back a little bit since you got there. When Jim was running this thing, Tennessee was winning every contest. And now, wait a minute. Wait a minute now.
Call me out.
All of a sudden.
Get his competitive spirit
all
going.
Of a sudden,
you can
there's
do all kinds of stuff.
some pressure on me, and I thought, I need to check into this a little more, And so we went into the national manual, and when we did that, and the other thing that we did was annual in-service trainings where we're helping the agents, training the agents about not just the contest, but the information concerning wildlife management.
Yeah.
Right.
The agents are getting into this because they're wanting to recruit youth into programming and whatnot. And so this is like a perfect conduit to actually teach them these important concepts in wildlife management, not just the project, but the profession.
You teach the kid, you teach the parents, and you also, in those cases, you teach the agent.
Absolutely.
Because they're ag agents. Now, today, a lot of the agents come from natural resources, but in the early days, they didn't have exposure to natural resources.
Precisely. That's exactly right. And so it was all a group effort, but that team effort with the agents and doing the in-service training and gaining excitement and watching the participation continue to grow and build. And all of a sudden, we're fifth, we're third, we're fourth, we're second, we're second, we're second. Finally, bam, we won. The first year, they won, when I was the specialist. I was just beaming with pride. And then I look back, but I think, we came in second again. But then we hit the streak. And they won 8 years in a row.
Wow.
The national contest.
Wow.
And I mean, that's not easy.
No, I can
That's
imagine.
not easy. I mean, there is stiff competition. All of these teams are state winners. It's not just a random team. They're all state winners. And, while our
Best of the
competitive
best,
juices, that makes you feel good. What really makes you feel good is to listen and read what these students write and say about their understanding of natural resources management, wildlife it will make you emotional.
Yeah.
To see how they have grown and what they have learned, and you think, gosh, how could they learn all this? It's because they're interested in it.
Yeah.
And you feed that just a little bit, and I mean, they take it and run.
I mean, our future's in good hands. It sounds like.
Yeah.
They
does.
become passionate about it. And of course, not all of them go into the wildlife management profession, but they come away with knowledge that they didn't have, and then they share that with others. And we've done some surveys of past participants and asked them, how have you shared the information that you have learned? And we've written all this in publications about what all they've done and shared. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
No doubt the ones that don't go into it professionally are into land management. Maybe the family
our legislators.
Yep, exactly.
We've had a number go into legislation. We've had them go into all kinds of fields where they passively, if nothing else, affect land management.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure we cover a little bit about what's been going on. We'll start with what on my agenda here, which was Tuesday. It was Educational Day. So what did the kids get into out there, this week?
Well, before the contest, and this has been a long tradition at every national contest, the day before is Education Day. And that's is for two things. Number one, teams are coming like from Utah and New York and Wisconsin, not from this area. And so they don't know all about how wildlife management is conducted here. In many cases, the species are different, the vegetation types are different, the management is different, etc. And so we need to orient them a little bit as to how things are done. And so wherever it is, the specialist in charge, they will get the area biologist or foresters or other professionals that are involved in natural resources management in that area. And it's like a field tour. And we share information locally about what's going on. And that gives them a little clue about what they're going to see and get into tomorrow. So that's Education Day. But the other thing that it does, it eases them down.
Oh, yeah.
They're just really excited and pumped up. And, it calms them down and they get comfortable. And that's good. So that's Education Day. And then that moves into the contest day, and there's three main activities with the contest. The first, and this is through revision of several years ago, we came up with activity one. We've changed. It's called the Wildlife Challenge, and the Wildlife Challenge, we have anywhere from 20 to maybe sometimes 25 stations, and at each station there's a wildlife specimen or perhaps a part of a wildlife specimen, such as an antler or a turkey fan or whatever the case may be. But a lot of times, we have the mounted animal or a stuffed skin, not a taxidermy mount, but just a study skin mount. So the specimen will be there. They have to identify the specimen and then answer a question or two about the specimen as they go around. That right there, to me, well, not to me, to what I see, they like that as much or more than anything because they're learning, that is a brown thrasher. That is an ovenbird. if you ask most people what's an oven bird, of course that's a turkey that they're eating for things. So I mean, they're learning all these things that they've never heard of before. But when they walk in the woods, they hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If they walk in the woods, they'll hear an oven bird, and now they know what an oven bird is. And for the first couple of stations, there's actually not a specimen. We do a call.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah.
at the regional level, we have the regional contest. We'll make it a little easy, like a Canada goose or whatever the case may be. But it gets more difficult as they go to the state contest and then, of course, to the national contest. It's amazing at what these youth can identify from the sound.
Yeah.
There are, I'm not going to say there are some, most of our college students are not able to do that until they get through some upper level courses. And when these youth go into a college program, they are so far ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And so quickly in Activity 2, they go outside and they implement which management practices should be conducted for these wildlife species on this area.
Okay.
And then in Activity 3, they actually come together as a group, as a team, write a written management plan, which is impressive. And then after that, they come back in and they provide oral reasons as to why they implemented those practices. So they have written skills, they have oral skills, they have teamwork skills, individual self-confidence is built. There's all kinds of life skills that are provided through this program.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah, it's action packed. It's crazy what these kids learn and can
I know.
and achieve in some of this stuff. And I mean, just to think to write a plan in a day and a half, 2 days, whatever, it's crazy.
Right.
And it'd never happen if it hadn't been for somebody to come
Exactly.
up with an idea and get her going.
Exactly. We appreciate the impact you all have had on the students of Tennessee and the nation. Thanks for starting this program and it's
Keeping
amazing.
it going.
Yeah.
Man.
Thank you for highlighting it.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah,
Well-
we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
It is a neat thing for our kids and for our state.
It's an amazing thing. My son's been through it in the middle school level, and it was exciting to see him out there doing some of that. So, well, thank you guys again. Thank you to all the partners out there who helped make this happen. Across the state for this competition, and thank you for all the guys out there national level that's making this program continue on.
Yep.
So this is Tennessee WildCast. We appreciate you watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org. And follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.